This might be the strangest kit car you've never heard of. It's called the RIOT. It's built on top of the Volkswagen Beetle, but it looks like an off-brand exotic, and it costs less than the average Camry. And the exterior of the RIOT is anything but average. The car is essentially made from one giant fiberglass shell, attached to the Volkswagen chassis with just 28 bolts. In order to give it more road presence than the stock Beetle, the front of the RIOT was extended with a custom frame that matches up perfectly to the Volkswagen floor pan. To me, the front of this design looks like the child of a C4 Corvette and a frog, thanks to the quad headlight design and the bulging hood. The fuel filler cap is also located up here on the passenger side, just behind those beady little lamps. That leads to a front-mounted 12.5-gallon tank, which helps to offset some of the weight from the motor. Just don't rear-end anyone. Oddly enough, there are two lower intakes on the side of the car that lead to nowhere, but that's the only feature included over here since it doesn't have any mirrors. Now, in an attempt to give passengers the illusion of safety, the RIOT has a Targa-style rollover bar with an integrated light installed on the rear deck lid. This bar is the only piece of safety equipment in the entire RIOT, since, as we'll see in the interior, it doesn't have any airbags. The rear of the car is capped off with a pair of standard 90s taillights and a dual exhaust. Easily my favorite finishing touch on this build is the latch to open the deck lid. This rusty screw is exactly the type of backyard ingenuity that fueled so many of these Beetle kits, and it's super easy to use too. Almost as easy as hitting that subscribe button. The RIOT was produced by a kit car brand known as Thunder Ranch, who began development in 1995. Production was headed by Tom McBurney, a California native and ex-race car driver. McBurney had plenty of experience in the custom car world, with past projects including this Scepter 6.6S, and he even built the replica Daytonas featured in Miami Vice. The RIOT also made a splash in Hollywood with a brief appearance in the TV show Baywatch. Although, frankly, the show looks a lot less interesting than the promotional content made for the RIOT. Like this commercial, which pitted the car against a Pontiac Trans Sport in an epic police chase. The clip ends by letting viewers know the kit can be built for just 14 grand. Not a bad investment considering this one is now being offered at $15,000. Thunder Ranch operated successfully into the early 2000s and even gave the RIOT a facelift in 2004, which included a narrower front end and flush headlight pods. But McBurney ultimately retired and split up the brand's assets. Thunder Ranch was sold to Rock West Racing, and the RIOT design was bought up by an enthusiast named Nathan Radislaw. Radislaw planned to offer it as a turnkey build with a starting price of $10,000, but it doesn't look like many have been made since then. Back in the day, Thunder Ranch claimed a variety of engine swaps will fit in the RIOT kit, including a Porsche 6-cylinder or Mazda rotary. They even offered a revised chassis with an upgraded mid-engine design for an extra boost to performance. However, most kits were assembled on a standard rear-engine Volkswagen floor pan. In the case of this example, a 1973 Beetle whose motor has been bored out to 2050 cc's. Pair that with the 4-speed manual transmission, and it might even reach highway speeds. Reaching the interior of the RIOT is even harder. Since it has no doors, it requires a special technique. I found it easiest to steady myself on the windshield and headrest than step in over the sills. Height is definitely an advantage when inserting yourself into the RIOT, but sadly a disadvantage once you've made it, since legroom is pretty limited. At 6'2", I also wouldn't trust that Targa bar to save my neck in an accident, but I guess that's part of the thrill. The kit came with a custom dash that has enough space for 6 gauges. There's also a small cutout for storage behind the 2 seats. Other than that, interior adornment is left to a minimum. The one thing that I've learned from being around so many kit cars is that simplicity really is the key. If your entire car is made out of only 2 or 3 pieces, there's a much lower chance that those pieces are going to fall off down the road. Which explains why this RIOT has survived so well throughout the decades, and also why the company reports it could be built in just 40 hours. Although Thunder Ranch is no longer around, it's great to see this RIOT outlive the company. In my opinion, this is one of the better Volkswagen kits to be born during the fiberglass craze of the 80s and 90s. And with such a unique look and affordable price tag, well, it's probably a riot to own as well. I'm really sorry about that one. Thanks for watching.